Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher.
And welcome back. I'm Mike with the Turntable Teachers, and class is back in session here for another guest speaker episode at AOA Studios. If you're an artist, creator, podcaster, make sure you hit us up, aoastudios.org. Follow us on Instagram, and we got plenty of services that we provide here: audio recording, podcasting, music videos, the works. Make sure you hit us up for those. We actually have a great special going on till October 1st. Link is in the description. Check that out. And I'm joined today by another very special guest. Some of you might see he's familiar to you. If he's not, you got to get hip with him because he's doing some awesome things. Please welcome Brendan Jeannetti from the Music You're Missing podcast. Brendan, how you doing, man? Thank you so much for coming down.
Dude, I'm doing so well. It honestly has been really such a pleasure to hang out with you before the whole podcast shoot, and now I'm excited that we're live.
Yeah, this is great. Yeah, I mean, we're having such a good conversation off air. I was just like, I really gotta get this thing started.
Yeah, no, it's actually we're a little bit over time. We haven't even started yet.
Seriously, I love it. But no, so your show or your platform, I came on to because of Mako. Big shout out to Mako.
Shout out Mako.
Because he was on your Up Next Fest, actually, and thank you for the swag, by the way. Just so you guys are aware, this is from the Up Next Fest that you had in November. What was that?
December, like 8th, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's right, because it was the day before my birthday. I remember that.
It
was a good little birthday gift to see
go.
Mako on that stage at Middle East. It was cool. Great show, by the way. Stefan Dev, big fan of him. Been a big fan of him for a while. He's a friend of the show, and then I got to meet Retrograded and see his set. He was awesome.
Yeah, he was really high energy. I had never seen him play. I just guessed that he'd be good, and he was awesome.
He was fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. So I think we're both kind of similar in the sense of like we're both not a traditional podcast. Like we both do different things outside of our podcast. Like that is kind of how we both I think kind of started, but we've branched out and done different things. Where you more so as like an on-air personality. So that's where we're going to start is the objective. We get to know you, your background and different things. You have a really awesome and unique background. I have them all written. I actually couldn't memorize them because there's so many different things. I have them all written down. So you were an iHeartRadio. You were part of the iHeartRadio street team at the age of 19, which is super cool. And then you did some college. You were a part of the college marketing team at Sony. And then you were one of the youngest on-air radio personalities in the Boston market for Country 102.5. So like... And then you graduated music business at Berkeley.
Yeah.
For your master's, which is dude, the resume speaks for itself. That's incredible.
It sounds cool when you say it out loud,
doesn't it?
It's in practice, it ain't that cool, but yes,
it's kind of
yes,
dope.
That is
it's kind
true.
of dope. So I just want to I'm curious, your background before all of those things, what brought you? Because likewise, I am not musically gifted. I don't think either of us are. We both have initiated that. Although maybe there's something in.
I'm just undiscovered. I just my potential hasn't been tapped into yet. I feel like I am low key like a really good singer, but no one has heard it yet. Or like a songwriter or something. I don't know.
I'm good in the shower. That's about it. But tell me a little bit about your journey through music, especially upbringing. Was music always a huge part of your life? Was it something a little bit later? How did you sort of decide? I want to be a part of the music business.
Yeah, man. It was definitely something that I didn't realize was a part of me until afterwards. It made sense. I guess growing up, I didn't really have a thing. I didn't play sports. I didn't do drama. I moved. So I was a little awkward for a lot of years. And really, I guess the only thing I really kind of dug was music. And at the time the iPod Touch just came out, so I had iTunes, and I was obsessed with monitoring the charts and things like that. Also, of course, I had LimeWire. Let's not kid ourselves.
LimeWire, big shout out to LimeWire.
Big shout out.
Literally, that was my Friday nights in middle school.
Just going on LimeWire, ripping.
Yeah, because not to cut you off, but similarly, I don't want to say I was an awkward kid, but I was one of those people when growing up in my town, I was kind of friends with everybody, but almost friends with no one, if that makes sense. I was friends with everybody, friendly with everybody at school, but I wasn't really part of a legitimate group. So on the weekends, and again, I would hang out with some people on occasion, but there were a lot of Friday nights where I'm at home by myself, and really to pass the time. And to keep me company was music. So same, and then I would peruse LimeWire and find, and that was my initially when I was young people were coming to me for all the time for. I've really been music curating since I was in middle school because people would come up to me saying, "Oh, I know you have all the dope new music.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
What are you listening
same.
to?" And yeah. That was like a good feeling. Like I loved that shit.
So my name obviously is Brendan Jeannetti, but like growing up, everyone called me BJ. Honestly, still to this day. But in middle school, in middle school, some people would call me DJ BJ because I would always. This is actually kind of embarrassing, but this is before Bluetooth speakers. I had obviously, like I said, I had the iPod Touch, and they used to have these speakers that you would plug into your iPod Touch.
Yes,
so I was that kid because they weren't a thing. No one had that, so I was the kid with the speaker in middle school, and I would like play music out loud. And I used to carry CDs. In hindsight, I guess I really was weirdly into music. I used to carry CDs in my backpack too. And I was telling you about the middle school teacher that I straight up used to bully. He used to run like this after school like music appreciation thing that I was a part of too. So in hindsight, I realized, I really liked music, and it was just natural. Like I just remember being like 19 and seeing an opportunity at iHeart. And I was like, no, that sounds cool. Like, obviously, I want to do that. So I applied and I got the job. And obviously, that is what shaped like the trajectory of the rest of my life.
That's so cool. So tell me a little bit about, actually, real quick. Yeah, like iPod Touch. I want to get on that. I had an iPod Touch at one point, but my favorite was the iPod, not the mini, but the one that like the big motherfucker, like the one that had like you could have like 30,000 songs on. Like,
would it have a silver back?
Yes.
Was that? I think it was called the iPod Video. Maybe I'm wrong.
It didn't have video on it. I knew what you're talking about. It was just maybe it was the Classic. Maybe that's what it was called, like the iPod Classic. But it was like maybe I'll get a picture on the screen. Yeah, it's in here somewhere. This is the one I had, and it had like 30,000 like songs on it, and I never got quite to 30,000, but like I remember having like 12 to 13,000 songs on it at one point. Yeah.
Oh,
before
wow.
it broke.
I did not go that hard. That's awesome.
Oh, like I was a fiend. It was bad. But yeah, same. Like I burned CDs for people. Like that was my shit. But anyway, iHeart Radio Street Team.
Yes.
Tell me about that. Like that first opportunity you had. Like, first of all, what is the iHeart Radio Street Team for anybody that doesn't know, including myself? And also, like, what was that experience like?
Honestly, like I have so much shit to talk about my past work experiences, except for with iHeart. I had such a wonderful time there. Like it was truly like the formative years of my of developing myself as a career person, if that makes sense. It's where I learned the fundamentals of a lot of my like grind, if you will, and just how to act in a place of work. It was truly so fun. My very first ever fucking gig was I worked with Demi Lovato and Rob Gronkowski, and there was a photo of me that went viral on Twitter because I was like in the middle of them. It was my very first gig ever that I worked for, and I was viral on Twitter. Viral back in the day, like lasted like 12 hours on Twitter. But yeah, it was so lit. So I just like got to do any event that they had, like I got to be present at, and like a lot of it, obviously, like some of it was like you'd go to the Sprint store and promote like Kiss 108. But then other things I got to go like backstage at, huge like the iHeart Radio Jingle Ball at Madison Square Garden they took me to, or like the TD Garden I got to go to, and I got to execute like VIP tours backstage. So I really learned a lot about the industry. So I, like I said, I'm super grateful for that time. I made a lot of long lasting friends I'm still friends with. And it's funny that I'm so grateful for it because I think I made like $11 an hour. But it was, if I could have that job modern day, but maybe make like six figures, yeah, I would do it.
That's so dope. That sounds like I'm about to say like the Demi Lovato, Rob Gronkowski thing sounds like a pretty highlight, like a big memory for there. But do you have is there like another highlight with your time at iHeart that like really stands out to you other than that one? If they're like an interaction you had with a celebrity or an artist by chance, or like an experience you maybe had or something you learned?
Definitely. I mean, I did like touch on briefly like Madison Square Garden, going to like the mecca of live entertainment was amazing. But I would say my final year there, the Kiss concert happened on the same time that the Spice Girls had a reunion tour in England, and it just so happened that a lot of my management had previously booked tickets, so it was literally up to me and this girl Devin, who I actually started Music You're Missing with, to run essentially the whole show, like behind the scenes. So I'm like 20. No, I think I was probably like 21. And just like I was working with the Jonas Brothers all day. Like I was their wrangler. Ellie Goulding I was working with. And it was just like, I can't believe I was responsible for them and to make sure that they were in the right place at the right time and like was doing their VIP meet and greet. It was just really cool to have that much responsibility given to me at such a young age with like such high caliber artists. I definitely, like I said, super appreciative of that opportunity.
Awesome. That's awesome. That sounds really cool. And then from there you moved on to Sony. Right.
Yeah, both. I was in both at the same time, and I was in college.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay. So how was it? What was it like being at Sony? Like, how was that experience?
Dude, that was really funny because I went to UMass Amherst, which like to no one's surprise is like not a market for music. And I found the manager of the Sony Music U program. And I found his email and I messaged him and I was like, you gotta hire me. Like, I know you don't have a market in UMass, but like I work for iHeart. Like I promise like I'll do you right. And obviously he didn't answer me. So then I like followed up with him and then he eventually hired me and he was like, all right, yeah, we'll make a program at UMass Amherst. So he definitely took a chance on me and that was sick because similar vibes. It was very like self-fulfilling. Like I got to do a lot of my own things. So it was really cool. It was a fully remote job. But they also like sent me to New York and I got to do a lot of like events and stuff. So it was, again, to have those two opportunities at such a young age, really, I feel like I skipped a lot of steps in the best way possible.
Yeah. No, I was about to say like that puts you on a trajectory, right? Yeah.
That's how you say it.
Early
That's how you say it.
Yeah, that puts you on a trajectory early on to be successful in that situation. Like that's fantastic.
I will say though too, because I don't want to be all sunshine and rainbows. It also
that's for sure.
sets a fake image of what the rest of the music industry is going to be. It's like I got to do all of that cool shit because I was making $11 an hour. Once you hit a certain threshold, you know, that becomes old news. It's not cool to be around these people and you need to start making a living. And I think that's like that's a reality that you face a few years into the music industry. You're like, can't be doing this stuff forever. Like I need a paycheck.
No, it makes sense. Yeah. We were talking that off air about podcasting and how lucrative it can be, but how difficult it is to actually become monetized and become a platform from a podcast, standpoint where you're making like a lot of money. Like that is difficult to do. I think part of the reason, I don't want to speak for you, but like for me, it's why I have branched out and done other things like shooting music videos, managing artists and different things, because there's money in those, and owning a studio. I mean, where we are right now. But that's why, but I think that's part of the reason why it's helping now. Like the podcast for me eventually led me to these other opportunities and endeavors. But now it's almost like those endeavors are allowing me to continue to do the podcast.
Definitely.
Which is super cool. Yeah. So like, I love that they're like kind of coexisting, and like helping each other out.
Just expanding the brand.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's sweet. And then you ended up being on Country 102.5 as an on-air personality right before you started Music You're Missing. Right? Yeah. So take me through that experience.
No, man.
You're like, no.
That was the funniest time of my life. That was literally the most off-brand thing I could have ever done.
I was going to say, because I don't know if I could be wrong about this, but I don't know if you've really had many country artists on your show, if any.
Zero. Yeah. No, I don't highlight country music because I don't really listen to country music. I definitely like growing up or like middle school, early high school, I did. And I know like, you know, the hits, but to modern day, I haven't listened to country radio since like 2019 maybe, when I was in country radio. That job was really funny, man. I only did that because I was at iHeart, and you know, like I said, I was doing that for like 3 years, and though I was 22, like I was practically like a seasoned vet there. It had a quick turnaround, and I had just gotten my bachelor's degree. I was like, all right, well, like what's next? Like I can't be doing this forever. Like I said, need a paycheck. Like gotta keep on moving. 100%. So I reached out to WKLB, like their program director, and I was just like, hey, like I worked at iHeart, worked at Sony, I've done some interviews with artists, like do you want me to be on the radio. And he was like, yeah, but you need to quit tomorrow. And I was like, fuck you. That is when that is like, this is when I knew I was like an adult now. I'm like, oh, I have to backstab like a company that I really liked for like the past 3 years. But I was like, okay. So I did. And then I quickly moved to 102.5. And I'm super duper grateful for that experience because I realized radio was not for this guy. It's super isolating. You're in a box alone, and the way that their office was set up is like I didn't have coworkers until eventually I got promoted to the morning show, which was fun. But also I was 22 and I had to work from like 3 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Right.
And then I also had to work from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. So I just never slept, and my whole life was working. And bringing it back to money, because I feel like that is a huge. Anytime I talk about like career in the music industry, I cannot stress like dreams are all fine and dandy, but money is really important. And I feel like
you have to live. You have to survive.
100. And I'm someone like now. I think maybe I should provide context. Like my full time job is in tech, and I make a great amount. Like let me rephrase that. Like I make a great amount of money when I compare it to the music stuff I've done. So that's why I just like to be honest about the fact that like I've done cool shit, but like it's hard to do. And if that's like your dream, like keep in mind that it's kind of low paying.
The sustainability is difficult. Right?
Yeah.
And even like off air, you were pretty much saying like, dude, I can't believe you do everything you do as a full-time teacher. And yeah, I've had to make sacrifices. Like I used to coach basketball. I don't coach anymore because the music side of things is starting to, grow for me a little bit, but at the same, and I am doing cool things and I like what I do. And I'm glad that I am a voice in the scene for Boston and like in Massachusetts as a whole. But yeah, no, I mean, I'll be transparent too. Like this is not my full-time job right now. And like, this is, at best a side hustle, but more or less like a passion. And that's the way I see it. Like I'm just balancing that out at this point in my life, like trying to be, sustainable in my adult personal life, but then doing something I actually like genuinely enjoy. Not that I dislike teaching, because I don't. But because you were a teacher for a little while, for a brief period too.
So many different jobs.
Well, yeah, we could go forever talking about other things we've done, but no, like our like little jobs we've had. But yeah, no, it's I will say though, like there's no better job to have to do this than teaching, because of all the breaks and getting out at 3 o'clock and different things like that. It allows for me to do it schedule wise. Without that, I don't think I could. Just as a functional human being, like I couldn't do it. So.
Yeah, you certainly need flexibility to do really any side hustle, which is also like why I recommend like if a space in music is what you want to pursue, then maybe find something sustainable on the side and have that be your side hustle. Yeah. While your music is main hustle, but again, like you got to get the sustainability in there.
Yeah. You were lucky though, because you got into it early. I got into it a little bit later. I didn't even start this podcast till I was 26. 25, and then, but I wasn't like super serious about it till probably like 26. I didn't really get immersed into like the actual like Massachusetts music scene and like kind of is what it is now until I was like 26. Yeah. So it's really only been 3.5 years. But yeah, music's a young person's game, and it's one of those situations where like I almost feel like I came into it as like an elder statesman, but at the same time, like I don't know. It's in that way it's cool. I can almost be like. It's funny how like the certain roles I've had in the industry like almost do like touch upon what I do as a teacher. Like I'm able to kind of mentor certain artists, and like it's just the artists I manage, not mentor them necessarily, but like be a sounding board, be a good listener, and like help problem solve. And I think those are all the things that like I do, and even when I'm consulting with different artists on like marketing campaigns and different things, like I don't know, coming at from it too from like a consumer's perspective of like, okay, as I always think about like, what would I want as a consumer? Yeah. Because I was I still am, but as a young kid was a music consumer. That was me, like in the flesh. So like, I know kids are different now, but just the landscape of the music industry and just everything in general is different. But like, what would I want as a consumer? That's how I try to look at it. And that, I think those things actually give me not an advantage, but they help me. Definitely. Even though I'm a little bit older. I mean, I'm only 30. I'm about to be 30, but like it's not like
happy almost birthday. But no, I feel like there's a misconception that you have to like have entered it young, or you have to have some type of connection.
Sure.
But a lot of skills are transferable, and a lot of
Yes.
opportunity is self-made.
Mhm.
So I don't agree.
I
would say no. I agree with everything you said, but I'm saying like I think that there is a misconception.
No, it is.
And it is beneficial to have come up as a consumer and as like the person that is like the key demographic to an artist or someone that you want to work with. You can learn in other ways other than like being formally taught and just by observation.
No, I know, absolutely. And like, yeah, I feel like I've learned a lot. I mean, I still have way more that I have to learn, but like, I really do feel, I feel good about where I'm at, like what I've learned without even all like the formal background with it, which is cool as well. Like,
Yeah.
I look at where I started to where I am now. I'm like, damn, this is crazy. Like, this is super cool. I think what this articulates for anybody listening to this is like, there is no traditional path. Like you can go with it in any direction that really suits you or the opportunities as they present themselves.
Yeah, I mean, especially nowadays with TikTok, and this is honestly supersedes the music industry. There's so many other industries where virality and a following, or just, you know, like not being hot physically, but like being trending, being hot, people are talking about you. The industries want to see that, whether it's like sales, acting, singing. So yeah, you can really, the economy of people is, or the creator economy, if you will, is the hottest it has ever been, and might be the hottest it ever will be.
Sure. Absolutely. This is, I love it. I completely. So anybody listening to this, this whatever age you are, path, you know, it doesn't matter. The path you want to take is your own path. Everyone runs their own.
And I'm like, in hindsight, I'm thinking about what I just told you with like iHeart and Sony. I like just and the radio. I made those opportunities. Like I emailed the people and was like, hire me, and I like forced them. So it wasn't like you can do that. You just need to, I guess, like
be assertive and like
be assertive. I mean, obviously find a balance between assertive and, you know, psycho. Maybe not be a little too crazy, but you know, have the skill set to back it up for sure. But yeah, just know that it's a freaking possibility, man.
Anything is, man. If you really can put, you know, that effort into it and like that passion into it, I do think that there are things like that are possible. I love it. And I want to get to the main lesson of the show, of course, because obviously music you're missing. That's the big thing you're working on now, or that really you're doing now. And I guess show promoting, I guess, would be a good way to put it too. like how many hats you want to wear, like there's that too. So tell, you know, obviously you started Music You're Missing during the pandemic, parents' basement. You know, I kind of have a similar like upbringing with the show as it is too. So, and now you're pretty much partnered with Big Night Media and recording out of there and putting on an awesome show, by the way, June 17th, which should be about next week when this episode does drop. But here's the flyer for that. You have there's a bedroom pop party featuring platinum artists or platinum recording artist Snow as the headliner, with Mako, Retrograded, as we mentioned before, who's a New York-based artist, and then Lazy, who is we're a huge fan of and a good friend of the show. So first, I want to get to the concert in just a second, and you throwing shows, but Music You're Missing, like you've had some amazing guests on, and it's really, I think the platform has really grown over the last couple of years as you've done it. So yeah, take me through like kind of the journey of Music You're Missing and how you started it, and where it is today.
Definitely. So I can tell you how the name was born before I start anything.
Please.
I was in college and I was stoned, and I think I was smoking a bong with my good friend Jake, who's still my best friend.
Love it.
And
Shout out Jake.
At the time, I had a WordPress blog called, this is really embarrassing, called Songs Brendan's Bumping, which I actually stole from Chelsea Cutler because she had a playlist called Songs I'm Bumping, so I just threw my name in there. And I was like, Jake, like I gotta change the name, like it's so bad, and I also kind of want to start a podcast. And he was like, without hesitation, he was like, what about like Music You're Missing? And I was like, yeah, it works. Let's not discuss, let's just kind of take that. So that was like an idea that I had in the back of my head. And then obviously, like you mentioned, I ended up doing on-air stuff after college. But the pandemic happened, and I quickly got fired in approximately a 54-second phone call. So I actually moved to Montana to get away from the pandemic, because if we recall, when we were young and naive during the pandemic, Montana had like one case, so it was like, oh, I'll just move there, like problem solved. They don't have coronavirus. So I moved there and I worked on this like really exclusive living community where like Tom Brady and Bill Gates have homes. It was truly like nothing I've ever experienced. I worked on the golf course there, and I realized, I was like, I can't have a job that isn't in music. Like, I can't do this. So I ended up having to leave because COVID happened, obviously. So I was there for like 6-7 weeks. Came back, and immediately it was like, yeah, it's go time. Music You're Missing is going to become a thing now. So I teamed up with my friend at the time. Well, she's still my friend, but at that time, I teamed up with this girl, Devin, who I met at iHeart.
Right, you mentioned
and
that earlier.
We were like, let's just interview artists from my parents' basement and see where it goes. And I did, and we did. And yeah, it was like just as TikTok was coming out too. So it was a really beneficial time to have started this platform. And also like artists were desperate for promo because they weren't playing gigs. And
Absolutely.
So many people, people only can tune into like live streams of them singing so much, it wears off. So weirdly, it was a good time. And Big Night had started a podcast division because of COVID as well. Because for those that don't know, Big Night Entertainment is a Boston-based like entertainment company. They own like over 20 venues in the Boston area. And if people aren't allowed to go out, they clearly weren't allowed to do things at their venue. So they pivoted. They started Big Night Media, and I reached out. Another thing I did, another like advice, just reach out. Reached out to the dude who ran it. Sent him like a one sheet for Music You're Missing. And I was like, sign us. And then he did. And then it took me a while. Like I signed on with him, and probably for like 6 months, I didn't really understand how to utilize them to the best of my abilities. And then like after 6 months, I think we booked Mark E. Basie, who was like one of my favorite artists. And I was like, like this is real. Like this could be like a real thing. And then I like really got an understanding of how to utilize like their production team and like what the brand actually was. Yeah, so that's kind of it. And I guess I should tell you what it is. I interview artists that I never, it's so funny. I actually don't have an elevator pitch for it, and I know I need to, and it's something I beat myself up about all the time. But I just interview artists that sound like they could be on today's top hits Spotify radio, but they aren't. And that ranges from people that are super independent and have like 20 followers to people that are like platinum selling artists and, have been around the block and are selling out, maybe not arenas, but like they're selling out like, big venues. They just still aren't getting like the attention that I think they deserve. So
I like that.
Yeah. So we're definitely more like pop leaning as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of it. And we also have a Spotify playlist too. That's like our biggest driver. Every artist that we interview gets playlisted on our Spotify playlist.
Dope.
But then we also have like 40 songs in rotation every week.
Awesome. Yeah, the Spotify playlist curating's fun. I mean, clearly for us, like being, coming from our backgrounds to this now it's a lot of fun. I enjoy doing that. That's like a part that I actually like doing every couple of weeks. Like I like to update the playlist and with the hotter music from Massachusetts and New England. But yeah, we're in a little bit of a different space because you do promote Massachusetts artists, just not exclusively like New England artists. Just you're kind of your pitch, like you said, is more of artists that you think just need a little bit more of a spotlight on them that maybe don't. Someone like Mark E. Basie, who has worked with G-Eazy and toured with John Bellion, and like, he's done some great things, but I would agree maybe he's not as big as he even could be or should be. So I kind of like that element to it. For your show. And yeah, so like you've had some really awesome guests on this thing, and I definitely want to talk about that, but I think first it's actually time for a pop quiz. So if you're familiar with the show or if you're not, pop quiz is a segment where we ask the guests rapid fire questions. Some of them might have to do with music, some might not in your platform, some might just be things that I found as I have done my research. And some might just be, fun questions. We just go through them. It's okay. Nobody's ever failed pop quiz, so you're gonna be fine. I know. I want
to be the first.
You want to be the first? All right. Well, this could be the feat. All right. So, my first question, I'll just go off of this. You've interviewed some incredible talents like Marky Basie, Big Gigantic, Hoodie Allen, Lawrence, who if you don't know Lawrence, get hip. Lawrence. Speaking of John Bellion, get hip with Lawrence. Same. To name a few. But without thinking about it too much, Unusual Demont is what I saw usually too. I'm a big fan of him. He's fire. But without thinking about it too much, like who are maybe like a handful like favorite guests you've had on, or like favorite interviews, like ones that most entertaining interviews that you've had with Music You're Missing?
Obviously, like I do get asked that question a lot, and I immediately am drawn to a few. I would say, out of all of the artists I've ever interviewed, there's one whose music I'm just like so in love with the most. I hate to like pick favorites, but I can't help it. He's on repeat. I can't help it. So there's this artist called Stephen Day, and I talk about him all the time. Like it's actually, he probably thinks I'm kind of crazy. He's been on the show twice now. He is like one of the most talented artists ever, from his songwriting to his production. It's just like a super unique kind of like old soul, modern pop vibe. So it's just a real pleasure for me to actually speak to someone whose music I really value and to like dissect the music with him.
Love that.
Specifically, like one of my all-time favorite songs is by him. It's called If Standing Was Flying, and to talk to him about that was like really cool. That being said, another one that I think is really cool is growing up, we talked about this, like EDM in 2009. I don't know if you recall, but 101.7, we used to be called 101.7 Revolution out here in Boston.
Okay. And
it was just an EDM radio, and I just used to listen to that nonstop, and that's where I met or heard of Matthew Coma, who sings I like us better when we're wasted. Maybe put some auto-tune on that if you don't mind. And yeah, he's like and he has songs with Alesso. And anyhow, now he has this band called, I always get it wrong, Winnipeg Bowling League.
Okay.
And they were the first artists I worked with at Sony when I was in college, and I never thought I'd be able to interview him, mostly because he's also married to Hilary Duff, so he's like kind of legit. And he was like one of my first in-person interviews ever, and I was really nervous. And like now I am prepared like probably 4 days before I interview an artist. Like I have the rundown, and I coordinate with their teams and all that stuff. I don't even think I knew what I was going to talk to him about at the time, because I was so like
flustered on it.
Yeah, it was like green. I didn't really do many in-person shoots, and I just hung out with him for like an hour, and we played Nintendo 64, and he was just really cool. And it was really weird to talk to someone who I had been listening to for like 10 plus years.
It's crazy.
That's
awesome.
Did I do the math right? I did. Yeah. 10 plus years. So yeah, those would be my top two, but Lawrence too, similar vibes, was way too green to talk to them. Made my friend come in and sit in the studio because I was nervous, but they were great. And that ended up being like one of our most streamed episodes. I'm really surprised at that point in Music You're Missing that they came onto the show, but they did. And I love them,
man.
Yeah.
Like there's a song they have with John Bellion that was, and I used to do I didn't do it last year because I just got too caught up with getting the studio prepared, but I used to do like after every year I do like a top based on this, like the year, like top 20 for 2020, top 21 songs of 2021, and I believe it was for 2021 one of Lawrence's songs
was it False Alarm?
Alarms. Yeah, I was trying to remember the name, and I was like, it's definitely, if I sang it out I'd remember it. False Alarms.
I saw them.
It's crazy.
Obviously, like I saw them the night that they came in the studio, but then they were back not too long after in Providence, Rhode Island.
Yep.
And they, Clyde went to, what's the Ivy League in Providence?
Would be
Brown. Yeah. He went to Brown, and it was basically almost like a hometown show, and it was at a really small venue. And like the next tour they did was at, a venue like 6 times the size. So it was really cool to see them in that small venue. It was also like their hometown show, and their other brother came up on stage with them.
Oh,
it was
dope.
I'm so glad I was there for that.
Sweet.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. There's some really good
Sorry, this is a pop quiz. But
no, it's all good. No, I asked you the question. You're fine. All right. Speaking of favorites, I need you to get your phone. Because you ran this really cool and fun game the other day. You like to play games on your show.
I love playing games.
You love playing games. So we're going to play one now. You did this very recently, the on repeat game.
I knew, dude. I knew as soon as you said get my phone, I knew that this was what it was going to be.
So my on repeat, I just checked before we started recording this before you got here. My top three on my on repeat were Love, Her Fault by Wale featuring Bryson Tiller. Ugh Ugh by Kate which is brand new. I cannot stop playing that song. That hook is fucking insane. Amine, Kate Renata, if you're hearing this, like, this just fucking insane. That album is so damn good. And then Lean Beef Patty, JPEG Mafia, and Danny Brown.
I'm not familiar with that one.
It's a wild ride. Like, right. They're nuts. They're like experimental hip hop type deal. But anyway, those are my three right now.
Okay.
So what are your top three on your on repeat currently?
Hilarious, first of all. Secondly, I'm just gonna let you know that at number 4 is Mako, Rocky 3. I know you asked for the top 3, but I did just want to give you the
phenomenal shout out.
Mako
my guy Mako,
our guy on repeat. My number 3 is Over You by Louis the Child and Njamza. I don't know how you say her name.
Louis the Child's dope. I've seen them live. They're
super sick.
Palladium in Worcester. It's a great show.
Really? I don't think I've ever been there.
Dope show.
I saw them on a boat once, and that was really cool. Yeah, they had like a Boston Harbor. It was actually during the pandemic. It was kind of wild. And there was a thunderstorm, and we were on a boat, and it was the most packed I think I've ever seen a boat physically be. And everyone was just hammered and like on Molly. Not me. I was probably drunk, but I wasn't on Molly. And yeah, it was lit. Anyhow, number 2. We Were Never Really Friends by Bruno Major.
Okay.
Also one of my all-time favorite artists.
Got you.
And my number 1's kind of embarrassing.
No, it's okay.
It's Peace and Quiet by Kesha.
Okay. Kesha's fire, bro.
She's a brand new album out.
I haven't heard it yet.
So
Praying is one of my all-time favorite songs. I won't even lie.
If you want the industry drama, man, I'll lay it on you. She, as you know, I don't know if you're familiar, but she's in like a legal battle with her record label.
Did not know that.
Oh yeah, so she allegedly was like sexually assaulted by her producer, Dr. Luke.
Jesus.
And Praying is about that. And I can't. Never mind. So, anyways, fast forward to this album, and she's basically blacklisted. So they didn't release the album in any stores. They only released it on streaming. So it debuted at like 187 on the Billboard 200.
Damn.
Yeah. But I guess it's her last album under the record label.
Makes sense. Well, yeah, makes sense.
We're following that industry tea, man. But yeah, anyhow, that tight, song.
Man. I actually, no, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. I think she's like her earlier stuff. It was obviously radio hits.
Oh yeah.
Too poppy for my taste. I could obviously see the appeal, but I think her music as of the last 5 to 6-ish years, I think, has been like awesome. Like that album from Praying is like, it's ridiculous how good it is. Yeah, and that Praying song is like incredible. I love that shit.
Yeah,
it's so good.
This track.
I'm not even religious. Straight up, I love that song, and I'm not religious whatsoever. Atheist. It's so good.
It is a good tune. Yeah, this song produced by Rick Rubin. It's really also experimental.
Dude,
it's
one
like
of my all-time
auto
favorites.
tune, kind of hip hoppy. I recommend it.
Word, I'm gonna check it out later. Definitely, I like that. Again, speaking of games, explain to our audience what Crocodile Dentist is. That's on hilarious. Music You're Missing, and because I really am fascinated by this game that you play.
So bringing back actually to Louis the Child, it all started when I had free tickets to Louis the Child to give away, and I didn't want to just give them away like regularly. I wanted to give them away in like a fun way. So I had this alligator or crocodile, to be determined, where like you press the teeth and then it bites you. Like, it's a game. Like Hasbro makes it. I used to play it at a dentist. It has a set of teeth and one of them bites you. You press them down. Hopefully it doesn't bite you. So anyways, the competition was for someone to name my like pet crocodile, even though it's a game. And the winner's name was Chance the Snapper. So he's now our mascot, and he's called Chance the Snapper. But in addition of Chance being our mascot, I also play this game with bands. And we take Chance the Snapper, and we give them to band members, and they go around and they take turns pressing the tooth on the crocodile/alligator. And if it bites them, then they have to answer like a revealing question about a fellow band member. There was one time I played that game, and the questions were so brutal that first of all, they weren't that brutal, but they were a little brutal. and the team made me erase one of the questions.
No, really?
It wasn't that brutal.
Damn,
they were kind of like
drama.
They were kind of
here.
like teeny boppers. But anyhow, the ever since then, it's been a little more calm. But yeah, no, definitely put people in the hot seat with that one.
You're breaking up bands out
Breaking
here.
up bands.
Breaking up groups. Shit.
The question was, I can actually tell. The question was like, every friend group has like a runt of the friend group. Who gets made fun of the most? And they all said it. And then they were like, it's just, we don't want to promote bullying. I was like, I'm not really sure that's bullying, but I'll erase it.
Well, you're a good sport. I like that. I was very fascinated by that when I heard.
It's really fun. It's my favorite thing we do. It's super fun.
It sounds very interesting. Yeah, kind of like Pop Quiz is My Baby. You got
Chance the Snapper, Crocodile. Yeah, the Crocodile Dentist name is because my producer was like, I think it's called Crocodile Dentist, and I was like, Peter, I'm not sure it is, but I'll give it to you.
We're gonna go with it. We're gonna go with it. So, is there a recent trend or something that you've seen within the music industry that you think every artist should be doing or at least trying? Is there something that you've seen lately, like a trend that you really like? That's something that I think people should go for.
Darn, I feel like this may come off pessimistic, but that's just who I am, and that's the way I roll. I actually always advise going against the trends. I just feel like at least the artists I work with, maybe this isn't for everyone, but you don't want to be trendy because trends die and trends fade. And you want a sustainable career and you want to be yourself for a long period of time. So my advice is to kind of see what's trendy and how can you adapt that with, I guess, in your own right, or how can you create something similar, I guess, while keeping it yourself. And don't be afraid to skip trends. Like, not everyone needs to be in their car saying like, I just made the song of the summer. Like, feel free to skip it. So I guess my suggestion is avoid trends if you want.
I like that answer.
That'll definitely kind of I'm always leaning towards do the opposite of the norm and the regular.
Gotcha. I like it. Well, since you're pessimistic, maybe you'll actually like this question better. What's your biggest gripe within the music industry?
TikTok, man.
Yeah.
I hate TikTok so much. I and you know what's funny is I earn the right to say that. I feel like doing this podcast, so many artists are like, oh, I hate TikTok. I'm like, after a while, I'm like, I've talked to 110 artists and I've not heard one single, actually, that's a lie. I've heard one singular artist recently be like, I love TikTok. Every other artist hates it. Because I'm formally, I guess, trained in the music industry. Like, I have my master's degree in music business. I did Sony. I did iHeart. Like, I saw how to make it in music without TikTok. And now everyone's putting all of their eggs in the TikTok basket. And it's like you're missing out on everything else. And also the magic of the music industry was like, for me at least, it was like, not knowing an artist and not knowing everything about them. Like, you knew their music, you knew like a little bit of their posts or like their website, but now it's like there's too much access to these artists, and it's like, are you an influencer, are you a content creator, are you an artist, what are you? I don't need you to be all just one. I want you to be an artist. So yeah, that's kind of
no, I like that answer.
Yeah,
that's actually why I like one of my favorite artists, and has been for the last decade, is The Weeknd. And I think that because of his mystique is the reason why I continue to go back to them. Have you ever, speaking of, I know I mentioned Unusual Demont earlier, and this group has worked with Unusual Demont in the past. Emotional Oranges, are you familiar with them? Bro, that was so cool for the amount of time we didn't know who they were. Like, I fucked with that heavy, even though I was like, I need to know who you are. But it was the craziest shit because there was this artist, well, the male artist in Emotional Oranges, used to go by the name of Azad Wright, and I used to listen to him in college, and I had no idea it was him until later because they wouldn't show their faces or reveal who they were. And then I just found out like within the last like probably calendar year that's who it was, and
that's really cool.
Blew my mind. There's a song called Old School. I used to bump with one of my old college roommates. Shout out my friends. Shout out Dan Smith. Real name, by the way, not just a generic name. And
John Doe.
He showed me this song. Yeah, he showed me this song. We were freshmen in college. Old School by AZ Red. I used to bump it all the time. And then I never really heard much from him after that. And then come to find out he's in Emotional Oranges.
Is he still on? Is his OG stuff still on streaming?
No, it's not.
Wow, you really were an OG. That's pretty sick.
You can find the song. I think it's on YouTube. but still
Word.
like he's at right old school. I want to say it's still on YouTube.
Yeah, but
crazy. But I love, anyway, off of your point, I still love the Emotional Oranges, but like I was so fascinated by them because of the mystique.
yeah.
So maybe just some food for thought for artists, maybe not give all of themselves. I kind of actually do agree with that in some capacity. Okay. Who would you want to interview if you could? Like any artist in the world, who would you want to interview and have on your show if you could have them on tomorrow?
Bruno Major.
Yeah.
So I actually recently messaged his team because he's rolling out a new album, and he said, we'll talk. So I'm going to take that as he said, we can maybe make it happen when the album comes out. So
We're manifesting right now.
Yeah.
That's what we do on Turntable Teachers. We manifest.
Manifest.
That's what we do.
Then by the next time I see you, I would have interviewed him. He'll be in town September 30th. So
okay, I'll definitely see you before that at the show, which we'll talk about very soon. But yeah,
that would be one. I don't get nervous doing the podcast. I think that one I might need to take like a Xanax before. I think I would freak out because, like I said, kind of with Stephen Day, but honestly, Bruno Major just a little bit more. He's someone like I really listen to him for like the lyrics, and I connect with his music so much. And he also his albums come out at like really great times for me. So yeah, he's like one of my all-time favorites. So, and he's like kind of in my realm. Like he's not too hard of a get. Not like, you know what I mean? Like he's not so sheltered from press. Like I think he could do it. But yeah, I hope
I'm hoping
so.
for the best for you, man.
Same.
I hope it happens. What's the most underrated genre of music in your opinion? If like you could pick one, because I know you're a big pop guy. I know you love pop. But like, or like a subgenre. Like,
No, I actually I'm so ready to answer this.
Go.
French EDM. I was honestly, so I'll tell you this. I was going to lie and say bedroom pop because I wanted to promote the show, but I'm going to be honest and tell you French EDM is the bee's knees, man. I love it.
Okay. French EDM.
I can put you on to somewhere. Bon Entender, Louis Hoffman, and then more popular is Polo and Pan.
Okay.
They are amazing. I've seen all three of them in concert individually, and each one was probably one of like at least in my top 10 shows I've ever seen.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, man, you said you were gonna fail a pop quiz. You definitely aced it. So congratulations to you. Well done. This show, man, bedroom pop party.
Let's talk
with
about
Snow, Mako, Lazy, Retrograded. So like I want to talk about the show, of course. And guys, tickets are on sale now, June 17th. We'll link that in the description at Big Night Live. Doors at 5:30. Show starts at 6:30 promptly. Be there. The lineup is incredible. And I'm not just saying that because I'm biased. I am a little biased in this situation. But yes, the show's going to be awesome. I can't wait for it. Big Night Live is an awesome venue. So talk to me a little bit about the show. And then I want to also talk more about, too, like being like the show promoter and Up Next Fest and all these different things that you've done.
Yeah.
So first, we'll start here with the more pressing show. But
Yeah, so this was definitely something I had in mind for quite some time, and we definitely have been sitting on this one for a while to try to make it a thing. And finally, we had the opportunity to land a night at Big Night Live, and I just immediately kind of knew what I wanted it to be. I feel like Music You're Missing lends itself really well to bedroom pop, because a lot of the artists that not even that we interview, but that we interact with, a lot of our like listeners are artists themselves, fall under that category. So it's like a lot of, I don't know. Yeah. Anyhow, it just made sense, if that makes sense. Like that's how we started. It's what we're still doing. Like it just made sense to kind of highlight that genre. Obviously I just said French EDM is like one of the most underrated genres, but genuinely, like if we think about bedroom pop, it really had such a moment because of the accessibility of like music creation now. Like anyone can make a song, anyone can get their song distributed, and that's the genre that I see kind of flourishing. And I wanted to have a celebration for that vibe, but I also wanted to create a night where it's like you don't actually need to know the artist on the lineup. If you don't know them, like that's cool. You're here to discover, and also there's going to be art there. So it's like you're here to discover and kind of really tap into like your creative side and just kind of vibe.
I love it. I love it.
I don't know if that was a good description.
No, that was great. That was great. Getting someone like Snow to headline.
Yeah.
It's just simple as you always do. Like, you just reached out to the team and they got back, and that was it.
So I had no clue he was from the area, to be honest. So he also was an artist that I worked with at Sony with Get You the Moon when that came out. It's technically a Kina song, but he wrote it and obviously does vocals on it. And I just kind of always like thought he wouldn't say yes to being on the podcast, so I never actually reached out to him. And then one day his manager reached out, or whatever, publicist, and was like, hey, like Snow lives in, I think, Salem. Do you, like, want to interview him? I was like, what? I never knew that he was local. Yeah, let's do it. So then I had him in the studio, and like immediately I was like, hey, like, just so you know, expect an email. You're definitely going to play at my show that I'm going to have. And he was like, word. And if we're talking bedroom pop, like, he is literally the lo-fi king Snow.
Right. That's
and like I said, like handle. Get You the Moon is a prime example of like a bedroom pop superseding bedroom pop, I guess, and going into the mainstream. Like, he wrote that in his bedroom. The original clip that went viral was a clip of him singing in his bedroom on his guitar, unpolished. I think he messed up. And that's when like Kina saw it, flipped it, and then obviously it got released under a major label. So kind of going back to, you know, the bedroom pop genre, and like it really is meant to be highlighted because that's kind of where the best ideas start from and stem from. Yeah. So that's kind of how I got him.
I love it. And then Mako, you had him on Up Next Fest and had him on your show. Yeah. So again, I know I'm sitting right here and he's definitely listening to this, but like, you know, what about Mako for you? Why did you want him on this lineup?
Yeah. Well, I think honestly, selfishly, I really do like his music. Like, his genuinely
fantastic.
Like, genuinely, like I said, he's on my on repeat. So I genuinely listen to him. Two, obviously he killed it at Up Next Fest, and I would say he falls in the bedroom pop genre. So again, kind of easy peasy. Let's get him on the lineup.
Yeah, definitely. And then Lazy.
Yeah,
I think she's Snow is, but I think the other person, I think Mako and Retrograded can definitely go outside of bedroom pop. Not to say that Snow and Lazy can't, but I think when you get down to bedroom pop, I think Lazy and Snow are like the epitomes of that. So again, what about Lazy? And again, I mean, she's been absolutely killing this year, like really has. And she's a Turntable Teachers alumni. Shout out Lazy. What about her made you really want to get her on this lineup too?
So I think one thing I try not to look at is numbers, and I really try to let the sound kind of do the talking. So Lazy's someone that I've known. First of all, did not know she was local. Never looked at her numbers. Always just assumed that she was like a big deal somewhere. Not that she's not a big deal, but I always thought she was like doing the touring thing, probably out in LA. And then I actually saw that Mako had a show with her, and I was like, wait, what? Like, is she local? And then I actually looked into her music because, again, like, also when you like work in music, for me, there's music that I listen to, and then there's music that like I kind of work with, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
So she's one I'm like, no, this is like, I like her music. I don't really want to look into her. Like, I don't want to subscribe to her business nonsense. Like, I want to actually enjoy her music.
Enjoy her music, yeah.
And then, yeah, obviously, like, once I realized that, I was like, oh my God, like, that's perfect for this lineup. And it's great because there's not a lot of females in this genre. And I know that because I consulted a bunch of my friends in New York and in LA who both work for, you know, music industry jobs. I'm like, I need to find like more bedroom pop, like, woman if I'm going to continue this. I don't want to just highlight dudes because Up Next Fest was all dudes, and I honestly felt really bad about that. But there's nothing I could do because like there was a girl that I asked out in Pennsylvania, but she couldn't make it work. So yeah, what I really liked about Lazy is, one, I genuinely liked her music. Two, I think she's such a unique act and like can really elevate other women in the genre.
Plays everything herself too, which is crazy. Like, producers are like, well, doesn't produce all her own stuff because I actually am really good friends with some of her producers, like people she works with. But having said that, like, multi-instrumentalist, you know, produces literally in her bedroom a lot of the times. So like she was the perfect candidate when I saw this lineup, and I was like, oh yeah, she's got to be on it. Love that. And then Retrograded comes back to Massachusetts, man. So like he's just somebody that you're in, good graces with, and you guys are good friends at this point, because like he's done a lot of your shows, he's come on your show, like
be honest,
you guys love him.
The funniest thing about Retrograded is like I said, I did not know. I've never seen him live when I booked him for Up Next Fest. I just assumed
he was amazing.
He was so great. Like,
to be honest with you, this is not a knock at all. There was a couple of songs. There's one in particular. Like now, the name of it is escaping me, but I actually liked the way he performed it better than the actual recorded version. Because I went to go back and listen to his stuff. Actually, my girlfriend and I both, after Up Next Fest, we were driving home, and I was like, I gotta listen to this dude's stuff because it's really good. And obviously, some of the songs very much. This song called Coffee, Sunday Morning Coffee.
Yeah.
That song's amazing. But there was another one, I can't quite remember the one off the top of my head that it was, but the way he performed it was just like, he blew it out of the water. And then just maybe because I hadn't heard the song yet, it just didn't have the same effect that it did live.
Yeah.
But like,
he was so high energy.
Really good performer.
Yeah.
Like very amazing performer.
Great artist to kick off. So he kicked off the show too. First of all, I will also say like all four of the artists there, and I'm not even just saying this, like genuinely were so like amazing.
Yeah.
The energy that they gave was like no other. Like it was genuinely so good. And the amount of comments I got from that, because a lot of my friends were there who like don't know a rat's ass about music, and they were like, that was really good. One of my friends has like obsessed with Section 2 now.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, oh, do you see like Section 2 posted? I'm like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I did. Like I know him. He's like my friend. But yeah, I forget what I was talking about, but Up Next Fest was awesome, and I think this will have a very similar vibe. It's definitely going to be a little bit different because it's in such a larger venue.
Right.
But it's still going to be intimate, and there's going to be art and like vintage there. So like I said, really like playing into the whole like DIY aspect of it.
Sure. 100%. So these, with Up Next Fest as well, we were talking more about Retrograded. I think that was why. Yeah.
Okay. Nope. All right. So this is what happened. I interviewed Versace in my parents' basement.
Oh, that's dope.
And he DM'd me, or I did like a ask question thing.
Yeah.
Like ask a question for Versace, and he answered it. Or he asked a question for Versace, and then I asked that question on the podcast. And then ever since then, I've been connected with him. And it's just weird because I've had this platform for so long, so to actually make like a real life connection was weird. And I get to the show, and I'm like, oh, where are you staying tonight? And he was like, I'm in East Boston. And I was like, dude, I live in East Boston. I just moved there. And he was like, oh, yeah, my cousin lives on this street. I'm like, I live on that street. And I ended up becoming really good friends with his cousin. And now we're like homies. Like I see her very regularly. And I'm awesome. Like friends with her friends. So, yeah, I mean, that was like a no-brainer. I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, let's hang out with your cousin. But yeah, no, and he also killed it Up Next Fest. So
yeah, and I loved how like he was so, I mean, we spoke a little earlier about like not giving too much of yourself online. But I love when I go to see a show and the performer actually gives me something about themselves on stage.
Yeah.
That is the place to do it.
That's where you got to tell your stories.
Exactly.
Or let the music speak for itself too.
Exactly. I thought he really balanced that super well with like giving us some context on some of the stories. Like I think like one of the songs, I remember this, like he had said like one of the songs, it might have been the Sunday Morning Coffee one, where he was like on his like, maybe I could have this completely wrong, but like his parents' farm or something like that when he wrote it, or something crazy like that. Like I remember there was a story that like he had spoken, and I was like, oh wow, like this is now like building that like context in the set, like the setting of like where the headspace you were in when you wrote this song. I think like that piece of it when you're at a show and an artist does that and like really lets you in a little bit, I really appreciate that.
Definitely.
I thought he did that so well.
Well, especially like Up Next Fest, like I said, and it's similar to Bedroom Pop Party, is like a lot of the people that are going to be there aren't going to know any of the artists. Like that's the whole point. That's how we're marketing it, and it's no surprise. Obviously, these people are selling, tickets. Their fans are going to be there, but there's also going to be people that have no clue what music you're missing is even. Like they just stumbled upon an art festival, and I think that's what I was really surprised at Up Next Fest is how well they played to a crowd who didn't know them. And I thought that's like a huge skill. And like, I guess for anyone listening that is an independent artist, is like stage presence is honestly like more important than how good you are on stage, because you can sit in a room and like be sick, but if you're singing a song to me, I don't really understand it, or like I'm just like not catching the vibe, having like that story before, or like, you know, like dancing, like it just I don't know, like transcends energy, like
100%.
You transfer of energy.
Yeah, because like even me, like I'm obviously very familiar with Mako, and like familiar with Stefan Bev as well. But didn't know Section 2 and Retrograded. So like that for me was like, oh, okay, this is even still opening me up to like newer artists. How many of the Up Next Fest have you done? Just one?
Just one. This is your second one, like the second like real event you've done, right? We had one fundraiser event that I threw in my friend's backyard. Similar to Porch Fest, if you will, in Somerville. And that was cool. But that like kind of kicked it off. This is our second actual like show.
Gotcha.
Ticketed show, if you will.
Yeah. So is there like a plan going forward to continue doing more of these? Like is Up Next Fest something you'll continue to do, or will be branded differently, or you're not even sure yet?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'll speak honestly. I think Up Next Fest, I don't think I was in a place to throw that. It was it was a success. I can't lie. But I don't think Music You're Missing established itself enough to say like, we think these artists are up next. It's like, at the end of the day, who are we?
Understood. I get that.
We are in a place.
You also have to start somewhere as a show promoter. Like, I'm promoting a show I'm throwing a show in July with I'll keep that on the low for now, but like, or maybe it's already announced. I don't even know at this point by the time this is out, but like, yeah, I mean, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And, you know, I feel like at that point, you know, I will say though, I mean, that was only barely 6 months ago. I think you had built up enough credibility to justify it. So I think give yourself a little more credit than that. But like, and it was a dope show. So like, and it's at the Middle East, which is it's the Sonya at the Middle East, which is a great venue. It's a historic venue. So like, I think in a lot of ways it's a good first test for you. I mean, jumping from then Sonya to Big Night Live now, and like that's
kind of scary. Yeah,
it is. But at the same breath, like it's that next kind of inevitable step. I mean, did you always see yourself as wanting to throw shows and like be a show promoter pretty much, or like is that something that you just kind of fell into and decided on like later on?
No, I did. So like kind of what I was saying, like Up Next Fest, it just didn't feel right after it. Like again, success, loved it, everyone was great, but I'm like, this isn't what Music You're Missing is. What Music You're Missing really is like bedroom pop party. Like I like to party. I like art. The artists that we work with are very DIY. So it's like, that's kind of who we are. And that's where I feel like I have the credibility to not just throw an event, but throw a unique event, like almost like a never before seen type deal. Whereas Up Next Fest could definitely have been a little copy paste from, it's just a learning thing. It's like a natural progression where I'm like, I actually was going to do an Up Next Fest 2.0 with this, very, very close to announcing it as Up Next 2.0. And I was like, no, we can't do that. So yes, I always saw myself doing this. Specifically with this one, though, I feel like this is a much more appropriate extension of Music You're Missing. And I personally like that I'm not involved. I'm not going to be on stage. I'm not going to do a podcast. I like that it's kind of like us taking a step as music promoters and music bookers, and not a podcast that throws concerts.
Understood.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah, that's not how like I am marketing my show either. Like, kind of sort of, but like not yet. Like I don't want to be at the show myself. Like, I won't be like involved per se. Like I'm not going to be on stage and different things like that.
I can't believe I don't remember anything I said when I was on stage.
I don't remember anything you said either, so it's fine. I wouldn't worry about it too much. But no, I think having that self-awareness is important of like where you fit into the equation. And
definitely
where we fit into the equation on these things.
And it's funny too, like, because going up like in radio, it's very like self-fulfilling. Like you have to market yourself, promote yourself, like care about yourself. But when you do this, I really appreciate the fact that it's not about me, and it's about expanding these artists and giving them the exposure, which in turn obviously grows my brand. But I don't need to be the face of it.
No, absolutely not. I love it, man. Well, guys, I'll put the flyer up on the screen too, but I'll also hold it up. Why not? Music You're Missing's Bedroom Pop Party, Snow, Mako, Lazy, Retrograded, Saturday, June 17th at Big Night Live. Get your tickets now while they last.
Do it.
I have one more question in main lesson for you. I have to touch upon this. You covered the 64th Grammys. You were there for that. I want to hear a little bit about that. That's crazy.
It was sick, yeah.
And that's it. It was sick.
Yeah,
He's leaving
sick,
it at that.
yeah. No, so I guess I'll give you the full story. Sure, why not? I was at my brother's bachelor party.
Okay.
In Austin. And
oh my god, I'm a best man in a bachelor party in September. I'm gonna need some recs.
I'll give you some recs.
I'm best man in my best friend's wedding, and in November, and the party's in September.
Are you hoteling or Airbnb-ing?
Airbnb-ing.
Good. we'll talk off camera.
Okay, sounds good. They don't need to hear the rest of this. But go ahead.
Anyhow, and my friend who like was a producer at the show was like, "Hey, Grammys?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." So I flew from Austin to Las Vegas with one of my best friends who joined me on the bachelor party. Got a crazy ass suit, velvet, because we got to like go on the red carpet and whatnot. And I had like these like studded shoes. But anyhow, that's not what you asked. I was just kind of bragging for a minute. But yeah, obviously we went to the show. It was cool. I got to take a lot of videos, and honestly, they did like really well on TikTok. Wasn't expecting that. But the meat of the story here is actually afterwards. So how the Grammys works is you aren't allowed to drink alcohol you're not allowed to drink or eat anything on the floor during the actual show. When the commercials are on, you got to go outside, get your food and drink, and you're not allowed back in the venue with them. So you have to eat them outside or like in the hallways. So I'm around a lot of like business people, and everyone's getting drunk, everyone's drinking. So we after
just killing shots,
yes,
like literally because
you had
how
to
else are you gonna do it?
Exactly, you had to like force drink them. So every commercial break, like someone would be buying someone a drink, so we'd go out and we get pretty tanked. I'm not gonna lie. So we finally leave the Grammys, and we get dinner like super late, and I got dinner at Resorts World in Las Vegas, like this big hotel, and I could have made the story shorter, but we meet these two girls. And there's this guy, he's randomly like taking off his pants, and we're like, what the fuck is going on? So we like step in and we like try to break it up. He eventually gets kicked out after buying an $800 bottle of wine on their tab, even though he didn't know them. So they ended up comping the bottle, or he bought it, I guess, and we drank it. And moral of the story, I thought I was drunk. Actually got food poisoning immediately after, and we were supposed to go to an after party where like Zed was DJing.
Oh no.
But I was so sick for like 6 hours, and I couldn't go out afterwards. So
damn.
I know
that
was like exactly. So in short, it was a really cool opportunity. The Grammys were sick. I got to cover with my phone, which was nice. However, the funny part is the fact that I had such an illustrious night planned, and I ended up just throwing up all night for like 7 hours. And then I immediately flew home the next morning.
That sounds like shit. Literally.
It was hilarious, though. It was.
Hindsight is.
I'm
funny.
so happy I had that experience, mostly because like after being at a bachelor party, I don't think I could have lasted at a Zed after party.
Well, yeah. I mean, in a bachelor party in Austin, Texas, no less.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, wow. Well, great story. Thank you for providing some context there. I was very curious about that, and I'm sorry that you got food poisoning, but hey, whatever makes the story a little bit better.
No, it really does. I mean, because
awesome.
what I could have told you if I that didn't happen, the story would have just ended at I went to the Grammys. It was nice. Olivia Rodrigo. But no, I threw up.
Oh man. Well, Brendan, this has been an amazing episode. I'm stoked to have you down here. I'm glad you were able to pop by, promote not only your show, but also the event on June 17th. Can't wait for that. It's going to be really exciting. Again, like I said, guys, make sure you guys get your tickets while they last. They're selling them at the door as well, but like probably want to get them in advance is my guess.
Yeah, get them in advance. But of course, if you forget, we're not going to turn you away at the door.
Fair enough. One final question. This is the open response. Usually I would ask the question of the dream song scenario. But you don't make music.
I don't.
So therefore, we can't do the dream song scenario with you. So instead, we're going to do the dream show scenario.
Oh.
So I'll structure it the same way I structure it with artists that come on the show. They usually get a producer and 3 artists for their song, for their dream song. Mm-hmm. You, my friend, are going to get the same number of artists. You're going to get 4 artists. You have Snow, Mako, Lazy, Retrograded. That's kind of your magic number. You like the 4.
I do like the 4, yeah.
Yeah. So 4 artists. It would be Music You're Missing's show. You can even also say where it's going to be. It can be in any venue in the world that you want it to be. Don't worry about budget. We're not worrying about that. We're again, I told you, we manifest on Turntable Teachers. So any venue and 4 artists for your show that you would be putting on, where would it be? Who would the artists be? And what would the show kind of look like?
Okay. So actually I originally had like a real answer, not a real answer, but I'm like, a realistic answer that I could do. But then I'm thinking about like me as a consumer and not me as a booker and what I wanted to attend. And this is what it's going to be. It's going to be, I went to this really cool venue in Montreal, and it was like this, it was large. New City Gas is what it's called. So it's going to be there. Crazy venue. It's like kind of underground, and there's like a lot of tunnels, and then it just comes out to this huge event space, and they have crazy lights. And I want it to be an homage to like 2009. So let's bring it back to our girl Kesha. She's going to be on there. All LMFAO. Right. 303. And...
Don't Trust the Hoe.
Don't Trust the Hoe. And who's the fourth? Who's like another one in that genre?
Kesha, 303.
Because that's really the music that made me. And it's going to be called the Music That Made You Fest.
Ooh.
And we just need a fourth. It can't be someone that's like still kind of popping, because that they've evolved. We need someone who's really,
2009.
Like maybe Jason Derulo? No, he's too. No, that's not.
It's got to be pop, right?
It does.
I was wanted to say like Lil Jon, just to like.
Yeah. I would allow that.
Just to like.
Because he has songs with LMFAO and 303.
Right, and he could still do his own.
And he could do his own thing.
You know, and even have maybe like special guests, and he could have Usher and Ludacris out for Like it could really be a callback to the 2000s.
Yeah, or the girl. What's the song to?
See, I'm gonna think of I'm gonna think of so many,
but that's the dream.
I didn't expect I was gonna have to help you with this. But,
you're right. Sorry, that's the dream.
I'm just messing with.
The Music That Made You Festival at New City Gas in Montreal, starring my 2009 iPod Touch hits.
I love it. Starring Kesha, LMFAO, 303, and Lil Jon. The dream show scenario. There you guys have it. Go. Brendan, thank you so much for coming on, man. This is a lot of fun.
Thank you, dude. Much appreciated.
This is a pleasure. This is your time now. Plug away. Let the people know where they can find you. And anything that I maybe missed, any shout-outs, go for it.
I think I would only say to buy your tickets to Bedroom Pop Party on June 17th at Big Night Live. But no, if you are interested in Music You're Missing, feel free to toss us a follow on Instagram at Music You're Missing. That's kind of where everything lives. And you don't need to find me on personals. Save that for a rainy day.
Likewise. Don't even save it for a rainy day. Just don't follow me on my personal.
Forget my name.
That would be great. So if you're a fan of Brendan and Music You're Missing and just coming on to us for the first time, you can follow us at Turntable Teachers on Instagram. TikTok, dare I say, even though we don't like TikTok, but it's a forced thing. Not a forced thing, but it's kind of a necessity.
It's a love-hate relationship. Exactly, I'm sorry if I offended anyone.
Exactly. It's okay. It's all right. I wasn't offended personally. we don't get easily offended on Turntable Teachers. We're good. Turntable Teachers on Instagram, TikTok. Hit up our website, www.turntableteachers.com for all the latest blogs, podcast episodes, merch. We got it all there. And then, of course, if you are an artist, content creator, podcaster, make sure you hit us up at aoastudios.org. Follow us on Instagram, AOA.studios. And take advantage of all the great services we have. And of course, the specials we have going on. All of our services are discounted through the summer and early fall. So make sure you get onto that. And that's it for us here. June 17th, we hope to see you guys there at Bedroom Pop Party from Music You're Missing. I'm Mike. That's Brendan with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially dismissed.